Hello everyone, welcome to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. In this video, today our topic is electron transport system. This video is taken from Plant Physiology series CBSE class 11th, part 4th of chapter 15. Now, let's see here the lecture overview. So in this video, we will discuss on electron transport system, mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation, differences between glycolysis and Krebs cycle, and significance of tricarboxylic acid cycle or Krebs cycle. So let's start the topic, in which our first topic is electron transport system. This portion, that means electron transport system, is the part of terminal oxidation and phosphorylation in respiration, which is the fourth step of mechanism of aerobic respiration, which we discussed in the previous video. So now in this video we will see the electron transport system. The various components of the electron transport system include cytochrome B, two types of cytochrome C, ubiquinone, flavoprotein, that is FMN or FAD, iron sulfur protein, and enzyme cytochrome oxidases, which is intimately associated with cytochrome A and A3. These components are arranged in four kinds of complexes, like complex 1 or complex first, that is NADH dehydrogenase complex, complex second, which is succinate dehydrogenase complex, complex third, which is cytochrome B61 complex, and complex fourth, which is cytochrome oxidase complex. So there is a fifth complex, that is ATP synthase complex, which is involved in ATP synthesis. These complexes are arranged in a definite sequence in the inner mitochondrial membrane. Reduced coenzyme transfer their electrons and protons through the electron transport system, which is discussed in the next slide. So see here, this is the schematic representation of mitochondrial electron transport and oxidative phosphorylation. So see here, the first step involves the transfer of hydrogen from NADH plus H plus, which is formed in the matrix by the Krebs cycle, to a metalloflavoprotein FMN, that is flavin mononucleotide. The FMN gets reduced to FMNH2. Okay, so it is reduced to FMNH2 and the coenzyme NADH plus H plus gets oxidized to NAD plus. So oxidation of NADH occurs by the complex first. Now reduced FMN, that is FMNH2, then transfer its electron to FES protein and 2 hydrogen into the intermembrane space. So the reduced FES protein then transfer its electron, this is reduced FES, transfer its electron to ubiquinone, that is UQ. The ubiquinone takes 2 electrons from FES protein and 2 proton from the matrix to become ubiquinone H2. It means reduced ubiquinone. Now this reduced ubiquinone, here you can see that this reduced ubiquinone then transfer its electron to cytochrome B and 2 hydrogen to the other side into the intermembrane space. The FADH2 reduced in the Krebs cycle also enters through complex second into the electron transport system at this stage by transferring its 2 hydrogen to ubiquinone. The ubiquinone is reduced to ubiquinone H2. So evidences suggest that NADH plus H plus reduced into the glycolysis also enters into the electron transport system at this step. The NADH reduced a flavoprotein containing NADH dehydrogenase located on the outer surface of the inner mitochondrial membrane. The reduced flavoprotein then enters into the main pathway by transferring 2 hydrogen to ubiquinone. The reduced ubiquinone then transferred its electron to complex third, complex 3, that is cytochrome BC1 complex, and 2 hydrogen to the outer side. Now, see here, the reduced cytochrome B, here arrow indicates the last arrow is the cytochrome B, then transfer its electron to FES. Okay, FES protein. The FES is converted to here reduced FES, and this proton then transfer electron to ubiquinone, which also takes 2 hydrogen from the inner matrix to become ubiquinone H2. The reduced ubiquinone, that is ubiquinone H2, transfer its electron to cytochrome C1. At this stage, a third pair of hydrogen is transported outwardly. Reduced cytochrome C1 then reduces cytochrome C by transferring its electron. Finally, the electrons from cytochrome C are transferred via cytochrome A and cytochrome A3, that is cytochrome oxidase complex, to oxygen. So, this step, also known as terminal oxidation, which is catalyzed by enzyme cytochrome oxidase. The enzyme catalyzes reduction of oxygen to water by transferring electron from cytochrome A3 and 2 hydrogen from the medium in the following manner, like the 2 cytochrome plus half oxygen plus 2 hydrogen and converted to H2O plus 2 cytochrome. So here you can see that the electron transport chain and the terminal oxidation. The enzyme cytochrome oxidase is tightly bound to the inner mitochondrial membrane. It contains inseparable cytochrome A and A3 components and also some polypeptide that contain 2 copper ions. Both iron and copper undergo reversible changes in their oxidation states during electron transport by cytochrome oxidase. So this is all about the electron transport system. Now, after this, see here the mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation. So the mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation is the most complicated aspect of respiration. 3 possible mechanisms have been put forward to explain the process, in which the first one is chemical coupling hypothesis, second is conformational hypothesis, and third is chemoosmotic hypothesis. Now, let's see every mechanism in detail. So the first one is chemical coupling hypothesis. So what is chemical coupling hypothesis? According to this hypothesis, ATP formation takes place with the help of a coupling factor, probably a protein. First of all, the coupling factor forms a high energy complex with one of the electron carriers called CF carrier complex. Formation of this complex requires energy which is released during the electron transfer at the site of phosphorylation. The CF carrier complex then undergoes an exchange with inorganic phosphate which comes in place of carrier in the complex. The complex now becomes CF, that means coupling factor protein complex. The coupling factor protein complex then transfers its high energy phosphate to ADP, thereby forming ATP. Although this concept of oxidative phosphorylation had a great support in past, it does not have much support nowadays. So see here what is the chemical coupling hypothesis. This hypothesis was put forth by the Edward Salter. According to this hypothesis, during the course of electron transfer in respiratory chain, a series of phosphorylated high energy intermediates are first produced, which are utilized for the synthesis of ATP. These reactions are believed to be analogous to the substrate level phosphorylation that occurs in the glycolysis or citric acid cycle. However, this hypothesis lacks experimental evidence. The hypothesis thus postulates direct chemical coupling at all stages of the process. It is similar to the concept in glycolysis, which states that the ATP produced in oxidative phosphorylation results from an energy-rich intermediate encountered in electron transport. Oxidative phosphorylation occurs in certain reactions of the glycolysis in the citric acid cycle and in the respiratory chain. Now, the second is conformational coupling hypothesis. What is this? According to this hypothesis, the mitochondrial membrane undergoes structural changes which induce high energy states or conformations. These conformations favor release of energy which is used in the ATPase catalyzed production of ATP from ADP and inorganic phosphate. This theory does not hold much support due to lack of evidences. So in this, the mitochondria that are actively phosphorylating in the presence of an excess of ADP, the inner membrane pulls away from the outer membrane and assumes a condensed state. In the absence of ADP, the mitochondria have the normal structure or the solid state, in which the crusty project into the large matrix. The proponents of this hypothesis believe that the energy released in the transport of electron along the respiratory chain causes the condemnational changes just described in the inner mitochondrial membrane, and that this energy rich condensed in structure. Now the last and accepted hypothesis is chemiosmotic coupling hypothesis. So what is this? This hypothesis was proposed by a British biochemist Peter Michel in 1961-1966. This theory is most widely accepted. A brief account of oxidative phosphorylation based on Michel's chemiosmotic coupling hypothesis is given ahead. Oxidative phosphorylation in mitochondria is catalyzed by a multi-component enzymatic complex called ATPase or ATP synthase. Here in this picture you can see, or coupling factor. This ATPase has a stalk and a headpiece located completely across the inner mitochondrial membrane. The headpiece extends towards the matrix, whereas the stalk is embedded in the inner mitochondrial membrane and extends outwardly toward the space between the inner and outer membrane. The ATPase has been isolated in its pure form, which consists of the two coupling factors, coupling factor 0 and coupling factor 1. The CF1 is located in the headpiece and the CFO in the stalk. Now, the inner mitochondrial membrane is permeable to water but the impermeable to protons and other ions except at the point where respiratory chain and ATPase system are plugged in the membrane. The respiratory chain is oriented in such a way that the electron moves in an inward direction and the proton flows in an outward direction. Reduced NAD released from Krebs cycle when enters in the electron transport system transports 3 pairs of hydrogen across the inner mitochondrial membrane to the intermembrane space. Similarly, NADH from glycolysis and FADH2 from the Krebs cycle also transport pairs of hydrogen into the intermembrane space. Each molecule of NADH released from the glycolysis or FADH2 from the Krebs cycle transport 2 pairs of hydrogen protons into the intermembrane space. The unidirectional flow of protons toward the outer side results in the accumulation of hydrogen protons in the intermembrane space. The pH of outer surface of the inner mitochondrial membrane lowers considerably due to concentration of net positive charge. Thus, a pH gradient is generated across the inner mitochondrial membrane. The outward pumping of hydrogen also generates a proton concentration gradient across the membrane. The pH gradient and the proton concentration gradient across the inner membrane build a proton electrochemical gradient. The proton motive force drives proton across the membrane toward the mitochondrial matrix. The return flow of proton down their electrochemical gradient through the enzymatic complex is responsible for the activation of ATPase, which drives the synthesis of ATP from ADP and phosphate. There are evidences which support that inward flow of 2 hydrogen through ATPase results in the synthesis of 1 molecule of ATP. The ATP is formed at or in the headpiece of the ATPase complex within the matrix of mitochondria and then transported to cytosol in exchange from incoming ADP. However, the detailed mechanism of ATP synthesis is not very well known. The net effect of respiratory chain is that at least 3 ATP molecules are produced from each Krebs cycle. NADH plus H plus 2 ATP molecules are produced from NADH plus H plus released in the glycolysis, and 2 ATP molecules are produced for FADH2 released in the Krebs cycle by the oxidation of succinic acid. So 3 ATP molecules are produced by reduction of 1 NADH and the 2 ATP molecules from 1 FADH2. So this is the diagrammatic representation of the chemoosmotic mechanism in oxidative phosphorylation system. Now, after this, let's see here the differences between the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So what are the main differences between the glycolysis and Krebs cycle? Glycolysis takes place in the cytoplasm while the Krebs cycle takes place in the matrix of mitochondria. Glycolysis is a linear pathway while the Krebs cycle is a cyclic pathway. Glycolysis occurs in aerobic as well as anaerobic respiration, while the Krebs cycle occurs in aerobic respiration. Glycolysis consumes 2 ATP molecules, while the Krebs cycle does not consume ATP molecules. Glycolysis yields 2 NADH per glucose molecule, while the Krebs cycle yields 6 NADH molecules and 2 FADH2 molecules from 2 acetyl coenzyme A molecule. Glycolysis generates 2 ATP molecules net from 1 glucose molecule, and the Krebs cycle generates 2 GTP or ATP molecules from 2 acetyl coenzyme A molecule. Glycolysis oxidizes glucose partly, producing pyruvate, while the Krebs cycle oxidizes acetyl coenzyme A fully. Glycolysis does not produce carbon dioxide, while the Krebs cycle produces carbon dioxide. Glycolysis here, the all enzymes catalyzing glycolytic reactions are dissolved in cytosol. While the Krebs cycle has the 2 enzymes of the Krebs cycle reactions are located in the inner mitochondrial membrane and other all are dissolved in matrix. So these are the differences between the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. So location of the Krebs cycle is mitochondrial matrix while the electron transport chain is the inner mitochondrial membrane. If we talk about these are the differences between the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain. So net gain ATP per glucose molecule in Krebs cycle is 2 while in electron transport chain is 28. Types of phosphorylation is substrate level in Krebs cycle while the oxidative in the electron transport chain. Reduced NAD or FAD is produced in Krebs cycle while reoxidized in the electron transport chain. Decarboxylation occurs in Krebs cycle while it does not occur in electron transport chain. Dehydrogenation also occurs in the Krebs cycle while it does not occur in the electron transport chain, while the chemiosmosis occurs in the electron transport chain and absent in the Krebs cycle. If we talk about the aerobic, yes, Krebs cycle needs byproducts from the electron transport chain, and electron transport chain also uses oxygen as the electron acceptor, so both are aerobic. Waste product of the Krebs cycle is carbon dioxide while the electron transport chain waste product is water. So these are the main differences between the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain and the glycolysis and Krebs cycle. After this, what are the significance of the tricarboxylic acid cycle? If we talk about the significance, complete oxidation of acetyl coenzyme A, ATP generation, final common oxidative pathway, integration of major metabolic pathways, fat is burned on the weak of carbohydrates, excess carbohydrates are converted as neutral fat, no net synthesis of carbohydrates from fat. Carbon skeleton of amino acids finally enter the tricarboxylic acid cycle. Importance are the Krebs cycle break down acetyl coenzyme A to carbon dioxide. Decarboxylase and dehydrogenases enzymes also release hydrogen atoms. Coenzyme hydrogen carrier become reduced. This is really important for the later stages of the ATP synthesis. Acetyl coenzyme A can be produced from the fatty acids and amino acids. The body will metabolize any substrate available to produce ATP. So, the oxidative breakdown of respiratory substrates release energy in the form of ATP which is used in the various metabolic steps. Complete aerobic breakdown of glucose adds 36 molecules of ATP. The major amount, 30 molecule of ATP, comes from Krebs cycle. However, the glycolysis seems mainly to provide carbon skeleton or fuel to mitochondria. Thus, the most important role of tricarboxylic acid cycle is to provide energy for the metabolism in plants. This Krebs cycle also provides carbon skeleton or the raw material for the various anabolic process. Many intermediates of the tricarboxylic acid cycle are further metabolized to produce amino acids, proteins, nucleic acids, and other metabolic products. For examples, respiration provides energy for the reduction of nitrate to ammonia, which is further used up in the synthesis of amino acids. Alpha-ketogluteric acid provides carbon skeleton for the biosynthesis of glutamic acid. Oxaloacetic acid is directly converted to aspartic acid by the transamination reaction, and alanine is formed from the pyruvic acid. These are the transamination reactions, and alanine is formed from the pyruvic acid. These are the important amino acids of the protein synthesis. They can further give rise to other amino acids by transamination reactions which are used in the biosynthesis of proteins, purines, pyrimidines, nucleic acids, and other metabolic products. Succinyl coenzyme is used up for the synthesis of aromatic porphyrins which give rise to cytochromes, phytochromes, and chlorophyll pigments. Several aromatic compounds such as phenols, anthocyanins, beta-cyanins, etc. are formed from acetyl coenzyme A. The acetyl coenzyme A also synthesizes fatty acids which by combining with glycerol form fats. So this is the end of video in which we knew about the electron transport system, mechanism of oxidative phosphorylation, in which chemical coupling hypothesis, conformational coupling hypothesis, and the most important is chemiosmotic coupling hypothesis. Then difference between glycolysis and Krebs cycle, and differences between the Krebs cycle and electron transport chain, and the last one is the significance of tricarboxylic acid cycle. The next upcoming video will be on the respiratory quotient. So if you understand this video, please like and share it, and subscribe to my channel Anupma Biology Classes. If you have any queries, any suggestions, or any request or comment, you can ask in the comment section below. Thank you for the watching.